I am a Mocha Mom, and I am back with a new hot topic video. 5 difficult pregnancies. And this is in response to a comment left by Mama T123 in my last video, how do you make it with 5 children? It says, my experience with pregnancy has been opposite. I've breezed through both with no nausea, swelling, illness, nothing at all, but postpartum, barely made it with my first, so much so that I am terrified to relive the experience a second time, much less with a preschooler. This is a little different. She's saying she's okay with the pregnancy, but postpartum is bad. But with me, I struggle with the pregnancy, but I don't have any problems postpartum. But I think the same principles can apply. I mean, I couldn't control how nauseous I got or how sick I was, but I could have certain things in place so that I could make it through as painlessly as possible. So here's what I'll share with you. For this last pregnancy, my husband is extremely supportive. He took over the practical aspects of running the household completely so that I could lay in bed and get the rest that I needed. And that part was good. I knew the kids were taken care of. I knew people were getting fed and clothed and everything. But he's not much for holding your hand while you whine about the same things every day. In fact, I found that friends, and I have good friends, you know, and family, they can only hear you repeat your sob story over and over again so much before, you know, they don't want to hear it anymore. They might choose to listen to you, but you still get that sense that, you know, you're not getting the same type of, oh, poor baby, you know, just tell me all about it anymore after a while. Enough already. But God blessed me and put one particular friend in my life who had been through it herself. In fact, her discomfort in pregnancy was longer than mine. She felt uncomfortable until she actually delivered the baby. And this particular friend, no matter how often I called her, she was there to listen to me and to say just the perfect thing. Even sometimes just saying, yeah, it really is bad, was really supportive to me. And I felt like with her support, emotionally, I was able to make it through. The next best thing I did, on top of the support that I had with that friend, was I had the practical support of someone I paid. I paid a doula to be available to me toward the end of my pregnancy, the last 3 months of my pregnancy. I paid about $650 or around that. I can't remember exactly how much. But I live in a state that's not the same as where my mom and my sister live. So, and even my friends, I couldn't find someone who was going to be able to drop everything and be with me in the hospital when it was time for me to deliver, or even be with me through the process of labor as the contractions got, you know, more and more, to just kind of keep me where I needed to be to have a successful outcome. And so having her there was huge for me. Her services came with 3 visits where, you know, I could talk to her about anything that was going on. She could give me her advice about things that I could do to improve my experience, my pregnancy experience, help me prepare for the birth itself. I had access to her library of books and her videos. I had access to her by phone if I needed her to. But most importantly, once my labor started, I was paying her so that she would be with me for as little time or as much time as I wanted her to be there. If I needed her there from the first contraction, she was there. And for as long as I want, and it would help me figure out, okay, it's now a good time to go to the hospital. And once we got to the hospital, she would be my advocate to kind of make sure that my birth plan, my vision for what I'd like my birth to be, barring any type of emergency medical situation, she would be like my advocate, help talk to the nurses and things like that when I'm trying to cope with contractions and things like that. She was phenomenal. So what I'm saying to you is it's important to have your support systems in place. As I said, I knew I wasn't near family. I knew my mother was going to come and stay maybe for 4 or 5 days or so, but then she'd have to go home. My sister came. You know, people come, but they have to go home. So you have to have a long-term plan after the baby is born. So I recommend making freezer meals, or having a plan for who, what are you going to eat, having a plan for who's going to be watching your preschooler, having a plan for, who's going to clean your house. Believe it or not, house cleaning services, depending on what you want done, are not as exorbitant as you might expect. It's important to call around and find out what people charge for those things. Who's going to be doing the laundry? Try to line your stuff up so that you know what things you struggled with the most with the last baby. When you're not pregnant, when you're not in the postpartum situation, is the time to plot and plan how you can make the practical things easier. You're not going to be able to get more sleep, because that's the nature of the beast after you have a baby. You probably will have some physical, recovery that has to happen. You probably can't control that a whole lot. But the practical aspects of your life that compound the stress and make you feel even more out of control and more helpless, those things you can take practical steps to make easier for you. And I feel like I did it 5 times because I love my children. I wanted a big family. I love my family. And I felt like it was worth it to go through that, to have what I have. But if you know that that's what you want, do what you know you can do so that you can cope with the things you have no control over. I wouldn't let such a temporary thing prevent me from benefiting from something more long term.